I'm going to talk about designing slow technology to support the values of grassroots communities. So, technological development from the turn of the 20th century grew out of scientific management, which was otherwise known as Taylorism, in the manufacturing industries, and it was developed to measure and optimise the activities of factory workers. It aimed to standardise work processes in order to increase productivity and reduce effort. And you can still see the influence of this kind of scientific management today, where technology is designed to improve efficiency, save time, complete tasks faster, increase productivity, but it's also designed to support a capitalist system that's based on consumer products, encourage us to buy the latest technological models and gadgets without thinking about our old ones, give us control of our time and increase choice and flexibility. But this efficiency has become a measure of every activity, and it affects everything we see, everything we do, how we see the world and ourselves. It's become, being busy is now part of our identity. So this is a quote by Phoebe Sengers. Optimization, efficiency and productivity are not simply methods to achieve an end, but have also become standalone moral values that measure the worth of the person. And information technology solutions reinforce the idea that not having control over time is a problem to be solved. But this is a paradox because, for example, with the uptake of smartphones and ubiquitous computing with email, social networks and GPS, which ensures that we are always on and always connected. So I'm interested in knowing what gets lost when we design for efficiency in all aspects of life. And is the pace of technological production and consumption sustainable? So, for example, in the realm of food production and domestic technology, from factory farming to the microwave, food production and preparation has become more efficient and more standardised. And where before we might have gone to the shops and met the neighbours and talked to them and spoken to the sellers, and now we can just much more conveniently we can order everything online and never have to talk to anyone. But even though this is more efficient, I'm wondering what gets lost when these domestic rituals get optimised away. And also, what's the drive behind this need for fast technology? Technology helps us consume, and consumption fuels technological design. So, for example, if you look into technological visions for the future home, you can see a lot of research and development going into smart fridges that create shopping lists for you, garbage cans that let advertisers know what's being thrown away, cabinets that monitor their contents and order you more things when supplies are low. And this is a quote by Strasser. Industrial food production has controlled and distorted the central ritual of daily life by subordinating all of its values to profit. And this same capitalistic drive encourages us to buy the latest technological models, upgrade to the latest software and acquire the newest gadgets, which have their obsolescence built in. And I'm wondering, is this turnover environmentally or economically sustainable? And we're not encouraged to sort of become attached to our mobile phones and our laptops. We're not encouraged to stop and think about this rate of change, and to even think about the craftsmanship or the materials that go into these technological devices. So I'm wondering, how can we design for citizens and for sort of a better quality of life and for people, not to make us more efficient consumers and workers. And one answer is possibly in the form of, slow technology might have something to offer to this. So this is from Harness and Redstrom from 2001. They wrote of slow technology as a design agenda for technology aimed at reflection and moments of mental rest rather than efficiency and performance. They state that a key issue in slow technology as a design philosophy is that we should use slowness in learning, understanding and presence to give people time to think and reflect. Can slow technology provide small acts of resistance to the pressures of designing for efficiency and consumption? I think that slow technology values of slow technology: craftsmanship, repairability, durability, robustness, quality of materials, putting people first, and quality of time. So a few examples which you might have seen. Some of these examples encourage downtime from technology, and so for you to reflect about your use of technology. This is the social timer, which is a tabletop salt and pepper shaker that you would put, looks like salt and pepper shaker, and you would put it on the family dinner table, and you set it for a certain time that and then it disables your Facebook and Twitter communication for that time. And there's other examples like this. I like this project. This is called Cow Cam. It's a CCTV camera that they put on a Highland cow in Scotland, and it basically just streams what the cow sees and does all day long, which is kind of very reflective, like encourages you to reflect about the busy pace of life. And then there's other examples, such as a slow down watch, which is a watch that you wear, and it pulses. It's like a biofeedback watch. It pulses. It shows you your rising stress levels and encourages you to get them under control. And I'm going to talk about a project that I worked on called the Talking Quilt in a minute. So I think slow technology is sort of part of the time. It's in this moment that's reflecting other sort of return to slow processes, such as slow food and slow textiles, slow design, which is a reaction to mass production of food and clothing and products. And I'm also thinking there's a connection to other things which is going on, with, like, for example, the maker movement, which is, this is a maker bot. It's a 3D printer, which is now sold something like 13,000 units. So people want to make their own things, and then this is an online community that teaches you how to repair your own technological gadgets, which is supposed to be, you could just throw them away and buy a new one, but actually there's value in repairing it yourself. And then there's other stuff like Instructables, which teaches online manuals on how to make things and how to do things. So I'm wondering, what's the connection between the increasing interest in craft and making, DIY, tinkering, and other homemade, homegrown practices? Are people looking to regain values that are lost in mass-produced and consumed products? Why are people often doing these things together and forming communities around such practices? I'm also interested, this is a dog park, where people get together and this was a workshop where people were just learning how to do stuff with technology. So I'm also interested what happens when you merge new and old materials, slow and fast technology, high and low tech, new and traditional crafts, and you create new hybrid opportunities, such as with what Newstead is doing, for example. So part of my research is I'm working on looking at these issues through a community gardening project, and I'm looking at how I can use technology to support the values of the farm that I'm working on, which is Spitalfield City Farm. It's a community-based urban farm in East London. It's run by volunteers who come from all walks of life, and they come together to garden as a way to take time out from the stresses of the city, to heal from illnesses, to connect with other people, to get out of the house, to take pleasure in the gentle physical activity of gardening, and to enjoy the slow pace of nature. I'm working with staff and volunteers and visitors to use technology to look at how we can sort of encourage connections between people and to make things that allow for enjoyable reflection. One of the most important things about the farm is that it's a community. It's like a giant community centre. It's a very open and inclusive place. Everybody can go there. But as the manager says, she couldn't have done a lot of what she does in a community building. It's very much about being outside in that space that allows things that happen there to happen. So for me, my challenge is, how can I design something with technology in a place that resists technology? So it's a haven from technologically mediated relationships to the world and people. So yeah. something to think about. And one of the projects I worked on at the farm was the talking quilt, which was a traditional textiles quilt that was made by over 80 staff, volunteers and visitors to the farm. And it presents a snapshot of the farm at this point in time. It uses RFID technology to allow for the playback of oral history interviews with the people who made the quilt as they're talking about the connections between food growing and community. And I use new technology to bring the everyday domestic object to life, to make it contemporary and to augment the experience of interacting with it without changing its qualities as a visual, tactile and handmade object. And I think of it as an example of slow technology because it allows for these reflective qualities and because it was produced in a slow, calm and durational way with different communities at the farm. So the quilt and the farm, they don't consume time, rather they give you time for new reflective activities. And interviews with audiences confirm this. So I'm just going to read one quote by somebody who took part in making the quilt and then afterwards she interacted with it. And she said, "It's a community craft project which has actually had a lot more than just stitches put into it. That day we turned up to the farm, the welcome we had, the whole joining in with something, that was pretty special. And also sharing the meal that was cooked on that day. That was one of the questions I was asked, have you got any special memories around food? Well, actually, this is a memory in the making because I'll never forget the wonderful food I had and I'll never forget the experience of meeting so many wonderful people and stitching the quilt. Never forget that either." So it was very much about people coming together and coming together in a shared activity in a particular time and place. And I'm just going to play a very short video of interaction.
Since I've been having drinking, I've been in depression, fallen up twice.
I'm very happy to eat anything and everything, so I don't really have a favourite food. If there was one thing I couldn't live without, I'd say it was fish and rice. Because I'm Bengali, and they said there's a phrase saying "Masel bate Bengali," which means fish and rice makes a Bengali. So basically, I'm made of fish and rice.
I come from the countryside, from a small place in Italy, in the south of Italy. So food was a really, really very important part of life and of the day. My grandmother grew up in this quite beautiful house. He had a quite big place for food. So she used to grow vegetables or a lot, the connection with the ground itself was very strong. And my happiest memory is about eating food directly from the plant and spending a lot of time outside, helping my grandmother and my mother in growing, sowing, watering, and everything.
Gardening makes it possible community. I really saw picnic kind of food, like when you sit down and have a picnic and it's like, oh, would you have some ham or bread or something like that?
So hungry.
And cooks the vegetables and cooks them. People come for all kinds of things.
You said that now, I'm hungry now. Wonderful. The thing is, it's not
the job is like